Every day, people find themselves tangled in relationships that drain their energy and leave them feeling emotionally bankrupt. It's not just about bad days or tough times. It's about being caught in the grip of someone who thrives on control and manipulation, a narcissist. Today, we're not just going to talk about what a narcissist is. Instead, we're diving deep into the very behaviors that unsettle them, the reactions they least expect and hate the most. By understanding these, you can reclaim your power and find a path to personal peace. This insight is not about revenge, it's about empowerment. It's about applying the wisdom of Stoicism to navigate and protect your inner peace amidst the chaos a narcissist might bring into your life. So stick around, because today you might just learn how to shift the balance in your favor, ensuring you're not just surviving, but thriving in the face of adversity. If you appreciate the insights we're sharing here and want to support our journey together, a simple free favor you can do is hit that subscribe button. And trust me, you won't want to skip any part of this video. Every moment is packed with valuable tips and empowering strategies. Number 1. Indifference. Picture every time a narcissist throws out a bait, maybe a provocation, a jab, or a blatant attempt to get under your skin. They're setting a stage where they expect you to perform. They live for this drama, thriving on the chaos they create, especially when it visibly shakes someone. But what happens when you don't give them that satisfaction? What happens when your face remains calm, your emotions in check, and your life moves on as if they hadn't said anything at all? That's indifference, and it's not about being cold or uncaring. It's about choosing where to invest your emotional energy. In Stoic philosophy, the power of indifference is known as apatheia, which refers to a state of being undisturbed by passion or distress. By adopting this approach, you actively decide not to let the external actions of a narcissist disrupt your inner peace. This is crucial because a narcissist's influence can sometimes feel inescapable. They push buttons, they trigger emotions, they pull on the threads of past hurts or insecurities. However, when you practice indifference, you're reclaiming your power. Choosing not to react doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you are in control of your emotions, deciding that their actions won't dictate your peace of mind. This Stoic mindset isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about setting a boundary that is entirely up to you to enforce. It's about knowing that in the grand scheme of your life, the provocations of a narcissist are merely distractions from your path. They are outside your control and therefore not worth the turmoil. By maintaining this level of detachment, you send a clear message: I am the arbiter of my feelings, and I choose serenity over chaos. Number 2. Factual communication. Narcissists often weave intricate tales where emotions run high, tales that serve their agenda and paint them in a favorable light, no matter the truth. When you engage with them purely through emotions, it's like stepping onto a battlefield they've already mapped out, complete with traps and illusions. They're adept at twisting emotional language to create confusion, guilt, or doubt. But here's where the power of factual communication comes into play. By stripping down your responses to bare facts, devoid of emotional embellishments, you take control of the interaction. This approach aligns beautifully with Stoic principles, particularly the emphasis on reason and rationality. Stoicism teaches us the importance of responding to life's challenges with logic and objectivity. When you communicate factually, you're embodying this Stoic ideal. You're being a rational agent, not a reactive one. This doesn't just disrupt the narcissist's narrative, it shields you from the emotional manipulation that can often leave you drained and confused. By sticking to facts, you anchor the conversation in reality, something that is often kryptonite to a narcissist. Imagine a narcissist tries to blame you for an overreaction that was clearly triggered by their unreasonable demands. An emotional response might involve defending your feelings or arguing about who is right and who is wrong, both of which can escalate the drama. On the other hand, a factual response would simply restate the events as they occurred, perhaps acknowledging the unreasonable demands and your response, but no more. This method doesn't just minimize conflict, it places a spotlight on the narcissist's behavior, making it harder for them to twist the narrative. Factual communication requires discipline and practice, especially when emotions run high. But remember, like the Stoics, we aim to act not on impulse, but from a place of wisdom. Each time you choose to respond with facts over feelings, you're not only protecting yourself, you're practicing a form of philosophical detachment that emphasizes truth over influence. It's about setting a tone that says, "Here are the facts, uncolored by your attempts to control the narrative." In doing so, you maintain your dignity and integrity, which are core to both personal peace and Stoic living. Number 3. Respecting authority. This can be a nuanced strategy that extends beyond mere obedience to rules or hierarchies. It involves acknowledging and adhering to a structure of accountability that narcissists often find constraining and frustrating. Narcissists typically despise any form of authority because it challenges their perceived autonomy and control. They often view themselves as exceptional, believing that rules that apply to others shouldn't constrain them. This resistance to authority can manifest in various environments, from the workplace to personal relationships, where they might frequently clash with figures of authority or struggle to maintain long-term professional roles. Incorporating a Stoic perspective, respecting authority is not about submissiveness. Rather, it's about recognizing and accepting the role of structure and rules in life. By respecting authority, you align yourself with a rational order and discipline that is fundamental to Stoic ethics. This alignment not only fosters personal growth and stability, but also creates an environment that is inherently antagonistic to the chaotic and rule-resistant nature of narcissism. For example, when a narcissist attempts to undermine a supervisor or flout company policies, responding with a calm, principled adherence to the rules exemplifies Stoic virtues of wisdom and justice. It demonstrates a commitment to a greater good and a well-ordered society, principles that are deeply unsettling to a narcissist. This doesn't just help maintain your peace of mind, it also positions you as someone who is unfazed by their attempts to destabilize the norm. Moreover, by advocating for and respecting authority, you communicate that you are not an island unto yourself, but part of a larger community with norms and rules. This approach can serve as a subtle rebuke to the narcissist's behavior, highlighting their irrationality and isolation in the face of communal and structured settings. It's a reminder that in the grand scheme, personal whims don't override collective agreement and order. Number 4. Being denied. This is a situation that narcissists handle extremely poorly. Used to getting their way, whether through charm, manipulation, or outright pressure, they react to denial with confusion and often anger. This reaction is tied to their deep-seated belief in their own special status, that the rules of common courtesy and mutual respect do not apply to them. For someone with narcissistic tendencies, hearing no is not just an inconvenience. It feels like a fundamental challenge to their worldview. From a Stoic perspective, being able to accept denial gracefully is a sign of maturity and wisdom. Stoicism teaches us that not all desires should be pursued, and that the virtue lies in controlling one's reactions to external circumstances, not in bending every circumstance to one's will. This discipline of accepting things as they are, including the responses of others, underpins much of Stoic thought. When you tell a narcissist, no, you're not just setting a boundary, you're also offering them a lesson in Stoicism, though it's a lesson they may not appreciate or heed. In practical terms, consistently enforcing boundaries with a narcissist by denying unreasonable requests can shift the dynamic of your interaction. It's important to remain firm and unemotional in your denial. Emotion can fuel the narcissist's energy. They often take pleasure in creating emotional turmoil. Stoicism, however, teaches the value of apatheia, a state of being undisturbed by passion, which can be incredibly powerful in these interactions. By responding to their demands with calm indifference and a firm no, you not only protect your interests, but also demonstrate a model of self-control and respect for one's own needs. Moreover, by practicing this form of denial, you embody the Stoic ideal of living according to reason rather than whim. This principle not only serves to maintain your emotional and psychological equilibrium, but also acts as a subtle form of resistance against the chaos a narcissist tries to sow. It underscores that reality is not shaped by one's desires, but by a rational understanding of what is possible and right. In this way, saying no becomes more than a personal boundary. It becomes a statement of philosophical principle. Number 5. Consequences for actions. Narcissists, accustomed to escaping accountability and twisting narratives to their advantage, can react intensely when faced with the repercussions of their actions. This intensity isn't just about dislike or discomfort. It's about confronting a reality where they are not the sole authors of their fate, an idea that goes against the very core of their self-centered universe. From a Stoic viewpoint, the concept of consequences is deeply entwined with the idea of justice, one of the cardinal virtues of Stoicism. Justice in this sense isn't just about legalistic right or wrong, but pertains to the appropriate response to actions, ensuring that behavior aligns with the common good. When you implement consequences for a narcissist's actions, you are effectively manifesting this Stoic ideal, reinforcing that personal actions must align with a broader ethical framework, not just one's self-serving narratives. For instance, if a narcissist in a professional setting continually takes credit for others' work or manipulates colleagues, the appropriate consequence might be a formal reprimand or a demotion. These consequences aren't just punitive, they serve a corrective purpose, realigning the workplace's moral and ethical balance. In personal relationships, setting consequences might mean distancing yourself or denying the narcissist the emotional reactions they seek. Enforcing these consequences requires resilience and consistency, traits highly valued in Stoic practice. Stoicism teaches us to remain steadfast in the face of adversity, maintaining our integrity even when it is difficult. This philosophical stance involves understanding that you are not responsible for changing the narcissist, but are fully in your right to demand respectful and reasonable interactions. By setting and maintaining clear consequences, you adhere to Stoic principles of self-control and justice, ensuring that your interactions remain grounded in respect and rationality. Number 6. Losing. For a narcissist, this is not just an unfortunate event, it's a profound affront to their self-image and sense of superiority. Their reaction to loss, whether in a competition, an argument, or even a casual game, is often disproportionate and marked by excuses, blame, or outright denial of the outcome. This intense aversion to losing stems from their fragile ego. To accept defeat is to acknowledge that they are not invulnerable or infallible, a concept that is in direct conflict with their crafted self-perception. Stoicism teaches us that life's outcomes, including wins and losses, are external to us and should not disturb our inner peace. The Stoic goal is to remain equanimous regardless of external conditions, focusing instead on maintaining virtue and integrity in the face of any circumstance. For the Stoic, losing is an opportunity to demonstrate resilience, to practice detachment from desires, and to reflect on the ephemeral nature of external success. Incorporating this Stoic resilience when dealing with a narcissist can be incredibly effective. By demonstrating equanimity in the face of losing, you not only set a stark contrast to their often dramatic reactions, but also embody a philosophy that undermines their worldview. This can be particularly disarming to a narcissist, as it challenges the very foundations upon which their self-esteem is built, the need to always come out on top. Maintaining composure and humility in loss shows a narcissist that their perception of winning and losing is skewed. It subtly teaches that true value comes not from the outcome, but from how the game is played. It's about showing that in the grand scheme of life, a single loss is merely a small ripple in the vast ocean of experiences. This perspective can be a profound lesson not just for the narcissist, but for any onlooker, reinforcing that self-worth should be rooted in one's character and actions, not merely in transient victories. Number 7. Public embarrassment. A narcissist's self-esteem is typically built on a fragile scaffold of external validation and admiration, so any public challenge to their competence, status, or persona can trigger an extreme response. They might react with anger, denial, or attempts to retaliate or redirect the humiliation towards others. This fear of public embarrassment is rooted in their deep vulnerability about their image and how crucial it is for their psychological stability. In contrast, Stoic philosophy provides a robust framework for dealing with embarrassment or any form of public scrutiny. Stoicism teaches that the opinions of others are external and, therefore, not something to be overly concerned with. According to Stoic principles, what truly matters is our own character and the virtues we live by, not the fleeting judgments of the public. This idea is encapsulated in the concept of apatheia, the peace of mind resulting from emotional detachment from things outside our control, including other people's opinions. When you apply Stoic thought to situations involving potential public embarrassment with a narcissist, you embody an approach that is radically different from theirs. By maintaining composure and responding with dignity and grace under pressure, you demonstrate that personal worth is derived from internal consistency and ethical living, not external applause. This stance can be particularly unsettling for a narcissist, as it undermines the very currency they trade in, external validation and fear of public perception. Furthermore, adopting a Stoic approach allows you to handle these situations more effectively yourself. Instead of reacting defensively or with embarrassment, you can view public challenges as opportunities to practice Stoic virtues. This could mean responding to unfair criticism with calm clarification rather than defensive retorts, or choosing to openly admit mistakes without shame when appropriate, showing that errors do not define your self-worth. Number 8. Expectations of commitment. Narcissists generally struggle with the concept of commitment, not because they don't understand it, but because they see it as a restriction on their freedom and desires. They want loyalty and dedication from others, but often fail to reciprocate. This imbalance creates a dynamic where the narcissist sets the rules, changes them at will, and expects others to adhere without question. The result is often a frustrating and exhausting relationship for those involved with them. A Stoic commits not because they seek control or validation, but because they believe in the value of trust, reliability, and mutual respect. These principles are seen as essential for a well-ordered life and society. By holding themselves to high standards of commitment, Stoics cultivate inner strength and stability, demonstrating that true commitment is a reflection of one's character and values, not a tool for manipulation. When you apply these Stoic principles in interactions with a narcissist, you create a stark contrast. You show that your commitments are rooted in integrity and not subject to whims or selfish desires. This steadfastness can be deeply unsettling for a narcissist who is used to bending commitments to suit their needs. Your unwavering adherence to commitments underscores their lack of the same qualities, highlighting the gap between superficial charm and genuine character. Imagine a scenario where a narcissist expects you to drop everything to accommodate their needs, yet they frequently break promises or fail to show up when it's important to you. By maintaining your commitments and calmly holding them accountable to theirs, you emphasize the importance of mutual respect and reliability. You can say, "I value commitment and will uphold my end, but I also expect the same in return." This approach doesn't just set boundaries, it also reflects the Stoic commitment to justice and fairness in relationships. Number 9. Emotional vulnerability. This is a concept that narcissists often exploit, yet despise encountering in themselves. They may feign empathy and concern, using cognitive empathy to manipulate and control others by playing on their emotions. This false display of vulnerability is a tool for gaining trust and deepening their influence. However, when it comes to their own emotions, narcissists view vulnerability as a weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. Admitting to their own vulnerabilities would shatter the carefully constructed image of invincibility and superiority they rely on to navigate their relationships and interactions. From a Stoic perspective, true strength is found in the honest acknowledgement and acceptance of one's emotions and vulnerabilities. Stoicism teaches that being aware of and confronting our inner states without being overwhelmed by them is essential for personal growth and resilience. The Stoics believed that understanding and accepting our vulnerabilities allows us to approach life with a clearer mind and a stronger sense of self. This self-awareness and acceptance are powerful tools for maintaining inner peace and integrity, especially in the face of manipulative behaviors. When dealing with a narcissist, embracing your emotional vulnerability can be a surprising source of strength. By being open about your feelings, you demonstrate a level of self-assuredness and authenticity that is both disarming and admirable. This doesn't mean exposing your every emotion to the narcissist's manipulation, but rather acknowledging your feelings to yourself and in safe, supportive environments. Sharing your vulnerabilities with trusted friends or a supportive community reinforces your own resilience and counters the narcissist's attempts to make you feel weak or inferior. Imagine a situation where a narcissist tries to belittle you by pointing out your emotional responses. Instead of reacting defensively or shutting down, you calmly acknowledge your feelings. You might say, "Yes, I am upset because this situation matters to me." This response not only validates your own experience, but also subtly challenges the narcissist's notion that emotions are a sign of weakness. It shows that you can own your feelings without being controlled by them, reflecting a Stoic understanding of emotional balance. The Stoics encouraged regular reflection on one's actions, thoughts, and feelings to cultivate greater self-awareness and personal growth. By admitting and understanding your vulnerabilities, you take a crucial step towards this reflective practice. You become better equipped to navigate interactions with narcissists and other challenging individuals, maintaining your emotional equilibrium and personal integrity. Number 10. Social disapproval. To a narcissist, being liked, admired, and respected by others is of paramount importance. When they face social disapproval, whether it's criticism, rejection, or simply not receiving the admiration they crave, it feels like an existential threat. This is because their self-worth is not internally generated, but depends on the continual positive feedback from those around them. The fear of social disapproval can lead to intense reactions such as anger, blame-shifting, or attempts to undermine the credibility of those who dare to disapprove of them. Stoicism teaches that true peace and happiness come from within, from living a life of virtue and integrity regardless of external praise or blame. The Stoics emphasized that we should focus on what we can control, our actions, thoughts, and reactions, and let go of what we cannot control, including the opinions of others. By anchoring our self-worth in our own virtuous behavior, we become less vulnerable to the shifting tides of public opinion. When dealing with a narcissist, understanding their sensitivity to social disapproval can be quite enlightening. It reveals the fragility behind their often boastful exterior. If you find yourself in a situation where a narcissist is desperately seeking approval or reacting badly to criticism, it's important to stay grounded and composed. Instead of getting entangled in their emotional turmoil, you can respond with calm detachment, focusing on factual feedback rather than emotional confrontation. For instance, if a narcissist reacts poorly to constructive criticism, you might calmly reiterate the facts without getting drawn into their emotional outburst. You could say something like, "I understand this feedback is difficult to hear, but it's meant to help improve the project." This approach aligns with Stoic principles by maintaining a focus on truth and constructive behavior rather than being swayed by emotional drama. Moreover, practicing Stoicism in the face of social disapproval can serve as a powerful example to others. By showing that you are not easily shaken by negative opinions, you demonstrate resilience and self-assurance. This can be particularly effective in group settings, where the narcissist may be attempting to sway public opinion in their favor. Your steady demeanor and focus on virtue over validation can inspire others to adopt a similar mindset, creating an environment where manipulative tactics lose their power. Number 11. Clarity and awareness. These are two things that narcissists dread because they thrive in environments where confusion and manipulation can flourish. Narcissists often create a fog of deceit and emotional turmoil to keep others off balance, ensuring that their control remains unchallenged. They manipulate narratives, twist facts, and use gaslighting to distort the perception of reality for those around them. This strategy works best when their targets are unsure of themselves and their surroundings. However, when you cultivate clarity and awareness, you not only see through these manipulations, but also protect yourself from falling into their traps. Stoicism teaches us to perceive the world as it truly is, free from illusions and emotional distortions. This involves rigorous self-examination and a commitment to understanding both our internal state and the external world. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes from this clear-sighted view of reality, allowing us to act with reason and integrity. By fostering clarity and awareness, you align yourself with these Stoic ideals, becoming a person who navigates life with a steady and enlightened mind. When dealing with a narcissist, cultivating clarity and awareness can be your strongest defense. Recognizing their tactics for what they are, manipulations designed to control and confuse, allows you to maintain your emotional equilibrium. For instance, if a narcissist tries to gaslight you by denying something you know to be true, your clarity helps you stand firm in your reality. Instead of second-guessing yourself, you can calmly reaffirm what you know, saying something like, "I remember the events clearly, and this is what happened." This response not only protects your own mental state, but also sends a clear message that their tactics are ineffective. Moreover, awareness extends to understanding your own reactions and triggers. Narcissists often exploit emotional vulnerabilities, so being aware of your emotional responses helps you manage them better. By practicing mindfulness and self-reflection, you can identify patterns in your reactions and work to maintain control over your emotions. This aligns with the Stoic practice of examining one's inner life and striving for emotional resilience. When you know yourself well, you are less likely to be swayed by a narcissist's manipulative strategies. Clarity and awareness also involve being vigilant about the behaviors and dynamics in your interactions with a narcissist. This means paying attention to inconsistencies in their stories, observing how they treat others, and noticing when they use charm to disarm you. This heightened awareness allows you to see through the facade they present and recognize their true intentions. Armed with this knowledge, you can make more informed decisions about how to interact with them and protect your boundaries. Additionally, fostering clarity and awareness in your life can have a ripple effect, influencing those around you. By consistently seeking the truth and acting with integrity, you set a powerful example for others. This can encourage friends, family, or colleagues who might also be under the narcissist's influence to see things more clearly and resist manipulation. Creating an environment where truth and awareness are valued makes it harder for a narcissist to maintain their control. Number 12. Changing the status quo. The status quo represents a carefully curated environment where the narcissist's needs, desires, and manipulations are the primary focus. Any change, especially one they do not initiate or control, threatens this delicate balance and challenges their dominance. Narcissists fear change because it can expose their vulnerabilities and disrupt the systems they've put in place to keep themselves at the center. The Stoics teach us to embrace change, understanding that it is inevitable and beyond our control. This acceptance of change allows us to remain adaptable and resilient, maintaining our inner peace regardless of external circumstances. By adopting this Stoic mindset, we learn to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth and transformation. This perspective is particularly empowering when dealing with a narcissist, as it shifts the focus from fear and resistance to acceptance and proactive adjustment. When you decide to change the status quo in a relationship with a narcissist, it can be a powerful act of reclaiming your autonomy and well-being. This might involve setting new boundaries, changing how you respond to their behavior, or even removing yourself from their influence entirely. Each of these actions signals that you are no longer willing to participate in the unhealthy dynamics that have been established. For instance, if you have always accommodated their demands at the expense of your own needs, deciding to assert your boundaries represents a significant shift. You might say, "I need to prioritize my well-being, so I won't be able to accommodate your request this time." This not only disrupts their control, but also reinforces your commitment to self-care and respect. Changing the status quo also means being prepared for the backlash that often accompanies such shifts. Narcissists typically react strongly to any perceived loss of control, employing tactics like guilt-tripping, anger, or manipulation to restore the previous balance. Here, Stoic principles can be incredibly helpful. By maintaining your focus on what you can control, your reactions, your decisions, your boundaries, you can navigate their attempts to reassert dominance without being drawn back into the old patterns. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm and composed in the face of external chaos, ensuring that our actions are guided by reason and virtue rather than emotional reactivity. As we navigate the complexities of dealing with narcissists, Remember that true power lies in maintaining your inner peace and integrity. Embrace the wisdom of Stoicism and let it guide you to a life of resilience and authenticity. If you found value in this discussion, don't forget to check out one of the suggested videos on your screen for more insights. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. Your journey to strength and clarity continues here.